Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to triple them, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. So today is Wednesday, the 3rd of March, 2021. And now this is Ajahn Sujan from Warapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. Hello, Margaret. I hope you are keeping well. Good evening. Good evening and good morning, Anish. Good evening, Yvonne. I hope that you're all keeping well, since this is a very cold day today. Temperature dropped so very cold, and I hope you're all keeping very warm. Good. So today is Wednesday evening, and this Wednesday evening I am again going to read the following discourse. But before that, the whole day I've been preparing to give a talk tomorrow early morning at half past 5. So it's my mind is just full of information. And still confused. So it's been quite interesting journey this year. Yeah, Jalan Pon, Yom Kanya, Sabai di no. So this year, since the New Year, it's been a really interesting journey. That different organizations are inviting me to give talks and also helping, particularly this last month I was able to or invited to join this Vipassana Institute, which is the institute that teaches the meditation nationwide in Thailand. I'll also help monks from around the world. Not only monks, but also people, those who are interested. And they are running these online courses, and quite often I am invited to give talks. Often I felt like it wasn't time, and I do not feel confidence to give talks. But however, I felt like this is an opportunity to share some of my knowledge and some of my understanding. And that's how I got into. And it appears the more you go into this zone, I began to realize that the more workload you're getting to have, and the more research you need to do, and with that, quite a consuming, time-consuming works. But it's interesting that when you are giving talks to in a general public, you are giving without any formats, and you are not preparing. You simply give, and whatever comes, and it just flows. And as we have a saying, that speaking from the heart, and that's how it's been. And I was not good at presenting on PowerPoint or preparing before talks. Now, whereas now, since it's an institute and people are so intelligent and need more information, I have to learn to use PowerPoint properly. So with that, in order to use the PowerPoints again, I have to I have to research and find the proper way of delivering it. And what I realized was that even last week when I was giving talk, first I prepared PowerPoint and I couldn't use that PowerPoint. I wasn't able to explain at all. I feel very confused. I wasn't feeling myself. And then I spoke with what I felt along those lines. And I felt after half an hour later, I feel comfortable. And I changed that by this Monday. And I used PowerPoint very carefully and expressed what are the points are. And that impressed myself and how death by PowerPoint. You're right, Yvonne. I was dead. So, but however, I managed to pick it up and able to express this the second last on Monday morning, and which quite impressive. I was very happy with myself as well. And then there was a few comments came up saying that, "Oh, Achan, you spoke very poetically." And I was thinking, I didn't say any poets. How could they say my maybe language or presentation is so poetic, or maybe my soft voice. So that's how. And then again another invitation came for today, and which came last night, and this is the very tough topic, and I took a challenge to myself that whether I can deliver it or not, and I will try my best once again with the PowerPoint, along with that my own heart's what I am going to say and what I'm going to do. So we'll see tomorrow morning what is going to happen. It's a 2 hours talk. Now I'm struggling every day to give more than a half an hour. So like that. Anyway, let's go to the topic of the day. Right? This is just the stories that I'm telling you. It reminds me, the school time and in the college time, and how much I was studying and thinking of how to present things. And now it seems like it's coming back again. Oh, thank you, Anish. How sweet. So, right, this discourse is called Neglected. This is again, we are continuing the discourse from the Satipatthana Samyutta. And this discourse is saying that because those who have neglected these four establishment of a mindfulness have neglected the noble path leading to the complete destruction of a suffering. Those who have undertaken these four establishment of a mindfulness have undertaken the noble path leading to the complete destruction of a suffering. Now my question would be for you all, so you can answer, what is the noble path? What is the Eight Noble Path? So you can type it and replying. So it is basically the Buddha is saying to the monks and saying to all that whoever neglects practicing in accordance with the four establishment of a mindfulness, or the satipatthana, which is the contemplating in the body. And I think a few days ago I mentioned about how to contemplate the body, and the reason behind the contemplation of the body, to understand and feel the entire body in its entirety, and appreciating this entire body. And meanwhile, understanding that this entire body is made out of four elements, and due to these elements, we feel connected to the nature, and there is no difference between ourselves and then to the nature. And eventually accepting that our body also fallen apart eventually, like the trees fall down and merge into the earth. The only difference would be trees, when they died, it will just lie on the ground and it will give more shelter and more nurtures to the other plants to grow. Whereas human beings once died, will be cremated or buried, not giving any source of other things to arise. I suppose if you are buried, then probably you are helping to generate more soil or generate this fertile soil. Later on we'll be having plants on it. That can be possible. But in general, when we talk about the trees and the human beings, trees are more or less helping to nature to grow again, supporting one another as it passes away. So that is the bodily contemplation, actually, learning to detach from ourselves. Yes, they were right. They can take your organs. Yes, that's true. You can share. Now the second is, it's saying that what are, Margaret, good, right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Well done, Margaret. That's right. That is the eightfold noble path. Well done. I really need to deliver you a chocolate box now. You've been very good student. You have been answering correct answers so many times, compared to others. So I should deliver a pack of chocolate as a prize. Yeah? So here, basically, Buddha is saying that a person who practices the satipatthana, that means one is practicing in accordance with. Don't worry, it is coming soon. So it is in accordance with it, basically means practicing eightfold noble path. Eightfold noble path. So our minds become clearer. We will have a good understanding about things. And not because we want it to be in these ways, but we will understand with a right understanding, having a right view about things. And then a right thought. Once we have a right view, or after we have seen things correctly, obviously we will be thinking rightly. That's why the understanding is so important. Yeah. Okay. There is a pressure to deliver a chocolate. Yeah, so once we have a right understanding, obviously what happens with that, we will have a right thoughts. And a person who is thinking correctly, thinking positively, with a kindness and compassion to anybody else, other people, other beings, the way he or she will speak, the speech will be right, and the speech will be more pleasing, beautiful, kind, helping, encouraging speech. There won't be a false speech. It will be a more encouraging speeches. So that is the right speech. And actions, again, will be a right action. Any action that one is taking would be good action for the benefit of oneself and benefit of others, and then benefit of the both. I think I have mentioned a couple of times, or many times repeatedly, that people can act for the one personal benefit, and that's a selfish. Yeah, and they can do anything. And even the Buddha once said that a person who is selfish, he can do anything, nothing he can't do for the personal gain and fame. So that's why the personal benefit is not the real one. Real benefit. It's not the right benefit action yet. And sometimes, again, they forget to look after themselves. spend much of the time, or almost all the time, thinking about the other person, thinking about the welfare of others, and thinking how could others be happy and with gain the material gains. And with that again, one is torturing to oneself by not looking after, not taking care of oneself. So as a result of that, that is also not taken as a right action that brings the benefit for only others. And as a result, the Buddha said that it should be beneficial for both parties. Both parties. And that is known as the right action that one has taken. And that right action is important. And that's again, it leads to the right livelihood. And here, right livelihood basically is not cheating, not corrupting, or no corruptions, and also not selling any drugs, alcohols, human trafficking, poisons, and weapons. And these are known as the wrong livelihood. There was a question came, quite, and not just now, but it's a now and then, again and again, it just repeatedly comes, that in Sri Lanka, when there was a war, civil war, and then the government managed to suppress and abolished the so-called Tamil Tigers, those who were trying to conquer the Sri Lanka and killed. And then eventually, in about 2006, Rajapaksa, the previous president, took a very harsh attempt. And then later on, he managed to free this 30 years of a civil war. And in that case, people began to ask that he was a Buddhist, and Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country. How could the president and Sinhalese, when the government parts, could do such a hedonious act? And then a similar way, I was asked recently about the Myanmar, that why this government, despite of being a Buddhist country, they are having such this very difficult way, and then suppressing and not being kind. And similarly in Thailand too, and now still Thailand also a military government which was taken by the coup, and still suffering and so much going on. So similar way, I was asked so many times, and I always say that these are the principles, and a person who is not following, we can't say that they will be real Buddhists. And again, people use religion for their agenda and for their purpose. But anyway, I suppose I'm not supposed to be talking about the politics here. We're talking about the religion, Buddhism and practices. How can we gain the right understanding, and how can we gain the liberation? Okay, so that's why the right livelihood is supposed to be in this category. That having said a Buddhist doesn't mean that everyone will be a real Buddhist. And again, the name tag is not the real Buddhist, but your behavior. Doesn't matter whether you're a Buddhist or any other faith groups, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, whatever. It's not by your title, not by your names that's attached to it, but your behavior defines the true religious person. So that's why in this way, the right livelihood is basically living in accordance with the noble and ethical values. And that's the number 5, and then number 5, and then number 6, 7, 8, the 3, right effort, right effort or right energy. That whenever we understood that things need to be done, and things need to be Any unwholesome or negative thoughts that we may normally used to arise in our minds, whenever it arises, taking this good consideration to abandon it, reducing and abandon it eventually. That's the first action we have to take. And in order to have that, we need a lot of effort to be aware whenever these negative thoughts arises in our minds. And further on, any negativities that's already persist in our minds and our heart, whenever we able to notice that, then basically we are reducing it. Such as, I think I have given an example of someone who's taking alcohol as excessively in every day, and that is the in a way unwholesome and unhealthy. So once you have realized that is still going on, then taking effort to reduce it and eventually abandoning taking those alcohol, even the drugs, or even some people would say the smoke as well. And smoking again sometimes can be very difficult to overcome, it can be very addictive. In fact, although there is no addictive apart from your desire and your habitual things, but once you understood that this is causing me a trouble, this is causing me unhealthy and other things, then basically reducing and eventually abandoning. That is the second. And then a third, any wholesome things that hasn't arisen in us, filthy habits. Yes, so then we have to give up. So, and then a third one is that any unwholesome things or any positive thing, positive minds that we haven't got it in our behavior, in our action, then put an effort to develop. Put in an effort to develop the good things. Suppose, sharing your things to neighbors, sharing your things to other people, those who are needed, those who are in need, and like that. And also practicing a moral life and building up a habit of a practice of a meditation once a day or twice a day or regularly. And these are which we haven't got it in the past. Now after we have seen the benefit of it, then gradually making it to our habits. And the last one is maintaining, and which requires an immense effort to maintain once we have done good things and continue doing it. So this is the effort part. And with that, what happens is that the concentration becomes, and we will be concentrating in a positive way of living and a positive forms of practices, and then we become mindful. So this whole, the Eightfold Noble Path becomes one in the practice of the satipatthana, the four establishment of a mindfulness. So one who practices the satipatthana, one is practicing in accordance with the Eightfold Noble Path, and a person who is practicing in accordance with the Eightfold Noble Path is also practicing in accordance with the Eightfold Noble, the four satipatthanas, the four establishment of a mindfulness. Isn't that so interesting, And it's so interesting that how it links to one another. And that's why Buddha is saying that, we shouldn't be neglected to practice the four establishment of a mindfulness. And once we have understood, and once we have practicing in that way, basically it is helping us to have proper understanding about the world, about ourselves, and how our life is so precious, how this world is so precious and so important. So, and how we feel the so great opportunity to have this life, and a great opportunity to have this skills and learning and knowing ourselves. So this is a right understanding, and understanding that all the problems and sufferings that we are facing or we are having is basically the result of our cravings, result of our craving to be, not to want, not to have, or want to have, don't want to be, like that. So we will be able to understand that in a sequentially, in a doctoral, physical way, a physician's way. There is a problem. There is a cause of a problem. It can be diagnosed, and there is a way to the diagnose, and that we will have a right understanding of that. Like we ourselves becoming a doctor, like in the commentaries or later development, people normally used to say the Buddha is a doctor, a great doctor, and the Dhamma is a medicine. His teachings are the medicine, and then the Sangha, the community of the monks and the nuns, are the nurse. Are the nurse who is nurturing, bringing those Dhamma and sharing and giving like pills to each and every one of us to eat, to practice, and so that you can be free and will be happy in that way. So this practice, gradually we will gain more understanding, and that's how we will gain the happiness. And another form, practice of satipatthana, also known as a way to gain the ultimate happiness. And this path, the Eightfold Noble Path, is known as the Eight Folds of Ways to Gain Happiness. Okay, so those two merge into together and will gain happiness. So persistently, continuously practicing with it, and eventually we will gain that happiness, the supreme happiness. Although we cannot get it at the moment, at least we will have a right understanding, and then contentment and the brightness in our mind. So I end here for tonight. So thank you very much for listening, and may you all be well and happy. We are going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You are most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and see you shortly. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. Sadhu.